Welcome to the BCAM Podcast, where we believe better coaching always matters. My name is Michael Massucci, author of Elite Journey books and BCAM board member. My co-host is Coach Dan Young, the executive director of BCAM, the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. On this podcast, we bring in leaders to share insights for the betterment of our game. Our vision is that every team across the state of Michigan has a great coach. We're so excited to welcome the one and only Coach George Ward from Martin Luther King Jr. High School. Coach, welcome to the BCAM Podcast.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Obviously, you guys have run out of people to have on the show, so by default, you guys have asked George Ward to come on, so I had to oblige. I feel like a celebrity, man, with you two guys on here, man. I appreciate it.
You're the celebrity,
Coach,
man.
You're a standout in many ways, but one of the few coaches alongside Coach Izzo, Coach Beeline, Coach May to be on twice. So we're very excited to have you on a second time. And the first time we heard all about your great mentors like Ben Kelso, and we heard about your coaching journey. And for all you young coaches, we encourage you to go back to that podcast and learn about Coach Ward's journey in coaching. But on this podcast, we want to talk about different issues, but we want to start with your remarkable season you're having right now as you embark on this state tournament. PSL, Detroit Public School League champions, undefeated in the Public School League. Coach, tell us what makes this team so special.
I think, for what we do, Coach, and DY, he's always at my games, and we competed against one another when he was coaching. I think this team, they're together. They've been together for a while now. The core group, they're seniors. So I think that helps, right? And I think, once you get used to me, I think that helps too, So I think I'm the weak link. But I think the way they defend, the one thing that I can say about this group is they love playing together. And, they had some goals set outside of the goals that I had set for them. They had some goals set for themselves collectively. And just a couple individual goals really that they had set forth. So I think they've played as a unit. They hang out together. They love being around one another. And I think the biggest thing after the bitter taste of losing in the quarterfinals last year, they wanted the opportunity to get back. And, not just thinking about the quarterfinals, but, we lost in the city championship game last year to Landstone and the Renaissance Phoenix. And obviously they had a heck of a guard alongside with them and, well-coached team. So to lose that as juniors and sophomores for the most part, I knew the guys wanted to come back and do something special. And thus far, we've had a decent season, had a heck of a schedule, as you guys know. And we're getting ready for the state tournament and great practice today after a disappointing game on Saturday, which we were just so flat. It's tough for the guys to come back after the city championship, and DY was there.
Yep.
After you win the city and you're in the city and then a week off of school, there's so many layers to that. And I tell people all the time, I said, to not be able to go back to school and get all the celebration over with and let your third hour teacher tell you how great you are and she saw you on TV and all of that. Losing the game on Saturday, I think, was to a certain degree what we really needed because we haven't lost a game. We had probably won about 12 to 13 consecutive games. So we'll be ready. We play Wednesday night and, the guys are ready to go. Great practice today.
That's great.
That's great to
Great to hear.
Well, we're looking forward to watching you and rooting you on as we always do. So, Coach, a lot of what we do at BCAM is we do a lot of coaching development. And one of the things that you hear Coach Young and I say at different places we go is it's a really tough time to coach. And maybe, without hyperbole, the most difficult time in the history of high school athletics to be a high school coach.
Undoubtedly.
And so we'd like to leverage your experiences, your championships, your tough losses, your seasons as a coach and a leader to weigh in a little bit on that, but also to give young coaches hope that this is such a remarkable vocation. And so we'll put that into context to say this. Coach, what would you say to the coaches out there that want to coach but are like a little bit scared of the pressure, the parents, the administration? How can you offer some encouragement out there to keep the talent pool of coaches fired up and ready to coach our young men and women?
You know what? That is Coach Massucci, you and DY. That is one of the greatest questions you could ask anybody, especially been in it for a while. I think, you know, the best thing that a young coach could do, one, one is keep the main thing the main thing. And winning is really a byproduct. And you guys have heard me say this a million times. Winning is a byproduct of you doing all the little things correctly. Making sure that guys are disciplined, making sure you're structured on and off the floor, and making sure that you're fundamentally sound when you think about the game itself. But I think for me, when you talk about keeping the main thing is recognizing that you have an opportunity to impact the lives of young people and impact the lives of families. So no longer are you just coaching the student athlete. And just to be totally transparent, you're probably coaching a family. You are really coaching some of the younger parents, some of the parents to make them understand, because the pressures of social media and all of that, you think the pressure is on the coach. A lot of the pressure is on the parent, and that's why they transfer so much of the pressure to the officials, to the teachers, to the coaches. So DY had a good taste of it. He was getting out when that social media thing was really, really, really getting heavy. So I think right now it is a fun profession. And, I wouldn't, if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it.
Yeah.
And I think when you allow young people to be student athletes and you really let them understand that they're to be a part of a program, that they'll be a part of a family unit, and not make it strictly about individual accolades and things of that nature, it really helps the young person. But you gotta maintain contact with the parents as well to let them know that, hey, yes, this thing is about getting a free education if possible, if a student has that kind of capabilities, but it's not just about winning the trophy. And now everybody is so consumed with, if you don't win the big dance, you aren't successful. You didn't have a successful season. And I hear that, and it's filtered down to the high school level. And I'm thinking, wow, what kind of pressure is that to put on a kid first, and let alone the coach? So I want the young coaches to look at this as a great opportunity and an obligation to help the young people. But I would say keep the main thing the main thing. And as a young coach, I was the youngest person on my staff probably for my first 15, 20 years of coaching.
Yeah, we talked about that the other night.
I was the youngest guy on my staff. I kept some old heads, now like myself, I kept the older guys with me to allow me to gain some maturity, to allow me the opportunity to bump my head a couple times, and then they steer me back, say, hey, coach, you got to do this. You should have done this, and this is the way you need to move. So I think don't get into coaching to win. I think you'll win if you do all the right things, but get into coaching to develop some young people and impact the lives of the young people, so we can have some more Dan Youngs and Mike Massucci, so this game doesn't get away from us like it appears to be doing now.
I loved how you used the word fun, because you don't hear that a lot in coaching. And you have I think, a professional reputation of being very demanding, but also
Yes.
your kids enjoy playing for you. That's a striking balance. And maybe it's a study of delayed gratification a little bit for your players, but maybe you can talk to that a little bit, about that balance of coaching young men and women. We have a lot of girls coaches out there that
Yes.
they want to create a demanding environment, but yet they're worried about, are they going to transfer? Are their coaches going to get mad? Is the administrator going to get upset that we're too tough? Like, how do you strike that balance, coach?
I think the irony of that question, Mooch, is, obviously we had a guy transfer this year in the middle of the season because maybe I was too demanding. But I think for the most part, that's been very rare for me. As being a head coach for 26 years, it's crazy to even say that. Being a head coach for 26 years without an interrupted year, I've had very little movement because we create a family atmosphere, and everybody wants to say that. But I really, really believe in that. You know, we eat almost as if we're a college team. On game day, we're going to have a pasta, we're going to have potato, we're going to have some carbs, we're going to have protein, we're going to have a baked chicken or something to that nature. We're going to eat salad. I'm going to make sure they eat the fruit. We're going to take in what we're supposed to take in. So I kind of govern my guys as if I'm their dad. And that sounds crazy to some, but I want you to think about it mathematically. The young person that gets into high school athletics, some days you have 6 a.m. practices. Even if you don't, you're at school at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes you get out of practice at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening. And that is 12 hours right there. You're with the coach 12 hours out of the day. And if you're a crazy man like me, sometimes it's 13 to 14 hours out of the day when you go at 6 a.m. You go home, you eat, you take a shower, you do some homework. You got to talk to your girlfriend or boyfriend on the phone. That leaves very little time to interact with your mom and dad. So the one thing that I tell parents all the time is this: all the rules that you have at home, believe you me, we have here at the school level too. And I'm going to make sure I enforce those rules. The same rules that you demand of your son or daughter at home, I'm going to demand them here at the schoolhouse. So I'm not going to allow them to cuss. I'm not going to allow them to be disrespectful. We're not even going to litter. If we leave the room for study table, we're going to clean it up as if we're getting paid to do so. We always say, make the room cleaner than it was when we got in there. I think so. For me, just it's fun because look, we're family. And so the young guys, you get mad at your dad. I know DY's sons, his son, and I know your sons got tired of you sometime. But guess what? They understood it was all love. And that's what I tell my guys. I said, listen, guys, if you don't think my mother and father, if you don't think I went in my room sometimes and said, man, I hate them, then you're a fool. But I want you to understand what love really looks like. And to this generation of young people, love comes in the form of something tangible. You got to buy me something. You got to give me something. But true love comes in the structure, the order, the discipline, and the demands that you're going to be successful in life. So by the time my guys get to the 10th or 11th grade, they're all in because they know you one thing. They say, hey, coach loves me. And I think you can really get on a young person. You can really demand greatness out of them when they know that you love them. And that's the biggest thing that you could do is let the young people know you love them, and all the other stuff will take care of itself.
Started with fun. We went to love. I mean, come on. That's good stuff, Coach. So I know that you and Coach Young go back a long way, and
My God.
Coach Young is so fired up to have you on the board and to see your successes and he had some pointed questions about as a coach, and then I want to get back to some things about the responsibility of a coach. But Coach Young, you want to ask Coach Ward a few basketball questions?
First of all, to our audience, if you've never been to a George Ward practice, you've got to reach out to Coach and go visit. He's a phenomenal teacher of the game, fundamentals, but just teamwork and skill development and all the things that you see when you watch his team play. Every time I watch his team play, it's fun to watch him play. It's fun to watch you coach. It's so great to see you out in public. You're just a great person in the community, and obviously been a part of our board for many, many years. So I just can't thank you enough for your leadership and everything that you do. I had a question about, what do you think separates teams that compete and teams that actually win championships?
Wow. Teams that compete and teams that actually win, DY? Was that the question?
Yeah, teams that compete and teams that win championships.
Well, I think
it might not be anything other than maybe the luck of the draw.
No,
maybe the shots go in.
I tell my guys, winning is not a birthright. Every player that has ever played for me, my children hear that all the time. Winning is not a birthright. So just because you're alive does not mean you get to win. And so I think the greatest separator is all the intangible things. And as you know, DY, you and I have talked about this before. You're going to have a player, you say you got a player that's 6'2" tall. Somebody else has one that's 6'2". He can shoot the basketball. This team has talent. The other team has talent. Who's going to play together? Who's going to hold themselves accountable more than anybody? And who's going to be coachable? I think ultimately your eagerness, not just your willingness, your eagerness to do everything that it takes to win the game really separates a lot of the teams. When I look at some teams, I say to my players sometimes, I say, you know what, you look at it, he doesn't play hard enough. Their star player, he doesn't play hard enough. He's not willing to do everything that it takes to win. So I think what separates good teams from great teams or teams that really are talented as opposed to teams that really win consistently is what you're willing to do every day. And as you said, DY, you know, you come to my practices, we do certain things every day that maybe everybody else isn't willing to do. So you'll see some teams that have a good year. You'll have one or two teams that, okay, they're pretty good this year. They got more talent this year. They've got a lot of seniors this year. This guy's coming back. But every year, I can tell you this, King is going to be right there. Southeastern was going to be right there. I don't care what happened, because there is something that we're willing to do and our players are willing to do every single day that everybody isn't willing to do year in and year out. So are you willing to get up at 6 a.m. just for individual workouts? Are you willing to go run the hill on Sunday mornings when everybody else is playing a video game and talking to their girlfriend? Are you willing to take out the hour to get into the weight room and meet us at Superbad on Puritan to get boxing training in? And how willing are you to sacrifice your game? Typically, my teams have 3 to 4 players every year that average double figures. Now, that isn't that sexy. I get it. You know, man, you don't want to go play for Ward. You know, I hear the grumblings about T.I., Izzo. Oh, man, he's not going to let you do X, Y, and Z. Well, are you willing to do what's better for the team? Are you willing to take good shots? Are you willing to make the extra pass? Because I understand some of the parents want you to shoot. Your trainer has told you you should get 25 shots a game, even though you're shooting 30% from the field. So I get that. The teams that are going to compete for championships year in and year out are the teams that really, really bond together, play together, and are willing to play harder than everybody. Everybody cuts hard when they know they're going to get the shot. Are you going to sprint to go set the screen? See, for me, I point it out in practice. And I tell my guys, and they laugh. I say, well, I know y'all calling Coach an a-hole. And I point out some of the guys. I say, I know you called me a name at least 8 times today. But we stopped the tape. And I say, hey, let's look at the difference when you're about to get the shot. You see how hard you're running off right now? You see how eager you are right now? I said, now let's look at the boxing out. You don't move as quick, do you? And when the guys buy into that and say, Coach, you're right, that's when I know that I have them. So we do everything as if we're at the collegiate level. And I think that's what separates everybody. There's some days that the coaches don't necessarily want to be there. So I understand there's some days that the players don't want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not count the days. Like Muhammad Ali said, let's not count the days. Let's make the days count. And every day that we're there, we're going to make the day count, man. So I think that's the greatest separator. And when you buy into the team instead of buying into yourself, you're going to have a winning tradition.
Awesome.
Love it. Love it. The responsibilities of a coach. And you think about the word responsibility, able to respond. Coaches have so many responsibilities. And one of the things that you have a reputation for is to teach life lessons beyond the sport itself.
Yes.
And I always can tell people in any industry who the most motivated people are. They're usually very connected and aligned with a mission, like a mission so large that it just gets them so fired up.
Yes.
And so you're doing some things outside the game of basketball. You have a podcast, but it seems to be like no gaps, Coach. Like there's no gaps between your messaging. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing off the court, and then we can go into maybe a larger conversation about what that looks like for other coaches.
Wow. Obviously, I appreciate that, Mooch. Obviously, I work for Ceasefire Detroit. I've done this for over a decade now. I can't even believe I'm saying that. And it's a gun and gang violence prevention initiative set forth by the mayor and the chief of police here in the city. So anytime you hear of a gun incident involving a teenager, especially, or someone in their early 20s, or if it's gang related, some kind of way we get involved in ceasefire. And it's something that means a lot to me because I do understand my obligation goes far beyond just a rectangle. And we want to win games, but as you just alluded to, you got to win in life. And so, I do that. I make sure that I make sure my young people understand what I do too. I don't keep it separate. Like you said, it's hand in hand. So our conversations oftentimes are centered around some of the things that I have to deal with ceasefire. And then you talk about the podcast. The podcast is, as Ralph and I like to call it, State Champions Podcast it is, but we really are about edutainment. We want to educate the people. In any podcast, you want to entertain them as well, but it's about education. So we want to educate the community on the do's and don'ts and some of the things that we see and try to help out the parents. When you look at all of that, I created a company called Championship Culture. And so what I was doing, I was running juvenile facilities at an early age. And what I decided to do, I'm tired of talking to just the young people. I said, I have to talk to the people that are impacting the young people. I got to talk to the parents. I've got to talk to some employers. I've got to talk to the people who are willing to say failure is not an option. So many of our young people are so talented. They're so energetic and willing to do something, but sometimes they're wayward. Sometimes they don't know how to get to the end goal. So I think what I did with Championship Culture, and it's kind of crazy, the logo, Coach Massucci, is hands interact, is 4 hands all connected.
I love that.
And I think for me, the one thing that I've always wanted is for young people to have what I had growing up. And what I had growing up, yeah, I was pretty fortunate with professional parents and professional grandparents, but I'm not talking about material things. I'm talking about the love and the structure inside of our family, inside of my home, inside of our schools, because we grew up at a great time, as you guys know. I understood if I had to get a paddle when I was in elementary school because I had cut up. It didn't bother me. It was the way that we grew up. And to me, it was love. So with all those things that I do off the court, I really try to show my players that it is truly bigger than basketball. And, the trophy at the end of the year, we won a trophy last Sunday as a city champion. And it is my 4th, by the way. And it's funny, I've lost 3. But I get my trophy when my players come up and say, hey, Coach, I'm getting married next month, man. I want you at the wedding. Coach, I want to bring my son up to practice. You mind if we come in and sit down? That's the largest trophy that we could get. And each of you have been to former players' weddings. Each of you have been to former players' children's birthday parties and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So I think after it's all said and done, what I do in the community, as you said, Coach, it really intertwines with basketball, and it just makes a smooth transition, so to speak, from work to the court because it all ties in. And again, the end game is making sure that we produce some self-sufficient, hardworking adults for those younger people to look at so they can become the role models that we had grown up to.
Love it. So looking at our profession, Coach, think about Michigan statewide, and they want to do similar things that you do. Maybe they play a schedule, Coach, that isn't very diverse. And they're like, I think sports is something that when they grew up, they played a lot of different teams, but everyone in their team looks like their team. And give them some advice. Maybe the team out mid-state that wants to have a little bit of diversity and challenge, different challenges in their schedule. What are some things they can do off season, during the season, maybe to play a PSL team or to play a team that will give them a little bit of a test what the state tournament might look like? Can you give them some advice?
It's unbelievable that you said that. My first coaching job, we were in Class D at the time, which is synonymous now, obviously, with Division IV. And I remember, obviously in Class D, you're playing against some schools from different cities, different areas. And I remember scheduling teams that ordinarily we wouldn't see. If you just played your league games, you wouldn't see some of these guys. And the one thing that I tried to tell the coaches, I said, listen, man, this is a public world that we have. I think we would do our kids a disservice to strictly just for a kid out of Detroit to strictly play against kids from Detroit. I think it would do them a disservice if the only non-league game they have is River Rouge or Inkster or Robichaud or something like that. And it could dispel a lot of the myths, a lot of the lies that have been told to one another.
Amen.
I remember playing against Hazlitt. Coach Kelso took us and we played against Hazlitt. And, you're up there and we're in Adrian, Michigan. We're going to Charlevoix. And I remember Coach exposed us to all that. And we played against Hazlitt. And they had a kid. I'll never forget it. I don't forget too much. A young fella, his name was Todd Jinks. And Todd Jinks could play basketball, buddy. He was 6'3", 6'4", just tall, built like a strong safety or something, could shoot it. And I remember after the game, just sitting there, man, we're drinking water and we're having a good time. And we went out to the beach and just kicking it with those guys. And I remember afterwards, my teammates was like, man, that was cool as hell. And I
How
think
about
for
that?
me as a coach, hey, man, get to know some of the other coaches. I did a camp up in Grayling. And, man, it was so much fun. And it was an opportunity for me. I took my grandson with me to interact with other cultures and for them to see. And I do tell my players this. I tell them all the time. I said, listen, you have an obligation, not just to yourself and to your family, but to your race, to dispel some of the myths, some of the lies and untruths about maybe they think that you aren't as intelligent as someone else.
Mhm.
So whenever you get the opportunity to show someone that, hey, I'm not a clown, I'm not a criminal, I have intellect and I have feelings, you do that and you share information. So, you know what? In the summertime, in summer leagues, Coach Massucci, some of the teams from up north should come down and play against teams in the city. And, a lot of the teams from around the state, they'll call me and say, hey, Coach, man, who you think we should play? And we'll make sure that, hey, they're lodging well, we'll have a good time, we'll feed them. And we do the same, man. We try to go play any and everywhere to not just for the basketball purposes, but to learn something about someone else and to give them an opportunity to get better because they probably haven't seen a brand of basketball that Westland John Glenn had when Dan Young was coaching. They probably didn't see anybody denying the wings like crazy, all of that. So now it helps their game as well, and it helps them socially. And I think as coaches, we have an obligation to do that and to get out of our own comfort zone. So it allows our young people to get out of their comfort zone as well.
So I would
Well said.
encourage our listeners, if you're looking to diversify your schedule for this summer, next season, to reach out to Coach Young at BCAM. He can help connect you to people. Coach Ward can help connect you to people to allow for the proper scheduling, the right atmosphere,
Yes.
the right competition, all of that. And we do have, close to 5,000 people in our association.
Yes, we
They
do.
want to really go and compete against the best and use basketball as a way to teach larger lessons like you're doing at Martin Luther King Jr.
Mooch,
So
I
thank you
gotta
for
add.
that.
I gotta add to that. It's funny
Please.
because there are several summer leagues and several shootouts in the summertime that you guys are very well aware of. Call us. Come on down for a day. If you can just come down and you want to play 2 or 3 games, we wouldn't want you to travel 2-3 hours and play one game. Call me up. Derek Coleman does a great summer league over at Birmingham Groves. It's safe. You don't have to worry about it. It's without incident. And the teams are there to get better. And I think the end goal is for our association, when you think about the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan, we want basketball to be better, not just for individuals, not just for certain schools, but we have an obligation to this state to make our players better, make our teams better in both genders. boys and girls, it's an opportunity for your kids to get better. So if you just want to come down for one day, if the budget doesn't allow it, Muskegon, Keith Guy does a great job with a shootout up in Muskegon. You can go to Grand Rapids, you can go to Flint, you can go anywhere where you can get some great competition, and it allows for your young people to play against some wonderful competition, and it allows for our young people to get better as well.
So, Coach Young, I'd like you to weigh in with Coach Ward on this one because I know you'll love to. One of the things that coaches need more of is appreciation. And one of the best, one of our favorites, just retired, Coach Ken Flowers from Detroit Henry Ford.
Wow.
Coach Ward, do you want to give a shout out to Coach Flowers? Talk a little bit about him as a coach, a man, and Coach Young, please weigh in as well.
Wow. I think the irony of that statement is Coach Flowers, who's probably maybe a little less than a decade younger than me, Ken grew up literally. If you walk out the front door of my mother and father's house, if I went across the street and jumped the fence, I would be in Ken Flowers' backyard.
Bro.
Yeah, man, and he should have gone to Cooley High, and I don't want to talk to him about that anymore. He literally was 4 blocks west of Cooley High School, man, and he decided to do something else, went to Redford, but what a great playing career, but an even better coaching career and an even better family man. And what he's been able to do as a coach has been amazing. When you look at his tenure at Henry Ford, Redford High School as well, before it closed, what a great man, what a great example. And again, you look at it, the winning. He always won regardless of the talent level. He's always been right in the thick of everything because he does everything the right way. And he loves his players. He loves that school. I didn't realize it was 19 years that he's been at Henry Ford. I didn't realize it was so long.
Yeah.
But Ken's a young guy, energetic, and to see him really, really matriculate through all of these years, all of these generations, and some of his players now are approaching 40 years old, and you look at it, he's barely 40 himself, seems like. A true master of raising young people, a true master that's totally devoted. And he talked about it last week when he coached his last home game at Henry Ford with tears in his eyes. And, for him to be so devoted to a school, to a community is rare. And the way that he ran his program was top notch to me. And if I weren't coaching, I can tell anybody right now, Ken Flowers would have had the opportunity to coach my son because he epitomizes what a family man is. He epitomizes what being a student athlete was all about because he's a great leader of young people. And he happens to be one hell of a coach as well. So obviously a state champion at Henry Ford, the first state championship, the only state championship in the history of Henry Ford High School. So I pray that they rename the gym or the floor or something over there. I know Greg Kelser, who's obviously the man from Henry Ford, but some kind of way we should honor Ken Flowers over at Detroit Henry Ford for all that he's done for them and the way he's represented that school and represented those young men. And what a great person that he's been. And I know he's not done coaching. And wherever he goes, I know he's going to look to do something collegiately. Whatever he does, he's going to be successful at it because he's got the brains, he's got the passion, and he really has the wherewithal to be successful at whatever he does. So we're looking forward.
Coach Young, you want to add
First
to
class.
that?
Yeah, he's like you, George. He's first class, and he's we got all the intangibles of
Yes.
what you would want in a leader and a coach and a mentor to all of his players. And we've just been friends for so long,
Yeah.
and just like us, and just you watch his teams play. It's like watching your teams play. They're really fundamentally sound.
They get after you.
Get after you. And there's a humility of togetherness that I feel when you watch his teams and his players among him and his players. And
Absolutely.
so just wish him the best. I know he's got some great opportunities but anytime we lose a guy like that in the high school ranks, it's tough.
It's tough.
Tough.
It's extremely tough.
Yeah.
We'll definitely miss him on the sideline of Henry Ford, but he's a great friend of mine. So, he's not done coaching. And I pray that something pops for him quick.
Hmm.
I'm sure, if I'm an athletic director, hey man, if you want to come coach tennis for a little while, because he is a leader of young people. And, I know it's been tough on him because over the years, but he has kept plugging away in some kind of way. He's always found a way to win. Even this year, with the talent level being down, he's competed
Hmm.
every single game.
Right.
So we wish him the best, man. And, shout out, as I call him, Hustle and Flow. That's my guy, man. So, Hustle and Flow, man. He's a bad dude, man. So we wish him the best.
Thank you for that. I think the appreciation for coaches is such an important, uh, platform that this podcast is, and I appreciate those words for Coach, who was a Michigan Elite 25 coach and always
Always.
brought his players in, and like your players, they were standouts off the court to me with just a great handshake, the great eye contact,
Yes.
the easy conversation, just stellar on and off the court.
And
So
you could
thank you both
coach
for that.
you could coach the hell out of them because the one thing that you understood is they had been coached before.
Right.
Mm.
And if
So right
you
away.
hey, and the thing that you gotta love about Ken is when his guys went away to school, they produced.
Yep.
When his guys went away to
Right.
school, they were ready to play basketball. They had been coached. They had been coached hard. They knew how to defend. They knew how to move the basketball. They were fundamentally sound, and they knew how to fight within the rules on that rectangle.
Hmm.
So we're going to miss him, man. And the city and the state lost a great one, but he's going to do something else pretty soon, man. We're going to see him.
Coach, I can't tell you enough how much we've enjoyed this conversation. I always feel like communities thrive when people's greatest talents meet communities' greatest needs, and your greatest talents are right where they need to be. You are a man on a mission, and you are an exemplar for BCAM on and off the court. Coach Young, you have any closing remarks for Coach Ward?
Coach, I just want to say thank you for all that you've meant to the city of Detroit, um, to the state of Michigan,
Wow.
and then obviously to our organization, BCAM, for all that you do. And you are, you're the best. I can't thank you enough.
Hey, guys, listen, man. You guys are great examples for all of us. When you think about the coaching ranks and obviously you guys being former coaches, Shrine, John Glenn, the whole nine, every Canton, everything that you've done has been the true example. And I think for us, as young coaches, you talked about young coaches earlier, Coach Massucci, finding some people that you can emulate, finding some people that you can say, hey, you know what? This guy is doing a heck of a job. And, DY, we would come down, we go out to John Glenn, we scrimmage. He'd come down to Southeastern, we scrimmage. And I told DY one year, we scrimmage, man, and DY, you remember this. I said, man, you got a state championship product right here. And we would compete and we would learn from one another. And I would learn a lot from DY. And I would call him, ask him questions. I guess selfishly, I was happy to see him get off the sidelines a little bit because I had one less great coach to think about and deal with. But I tell you what, man, our state is thriving. Like you talked about the number of members that we have with BCAM. I don't think it's a coincidence that DY is at the helm kind of moving this thing a little bit.
I agree.
The clinics have been wonderful. Having the high school coaches do some things last clinic was amazing. So again, I appreciate being appreciated, but we got to lay some real fine statements on some real people, and you two guys are at the top of the list, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach, and thank you for joining the BCAM podcast.
Hey, man, thank you guys, man. Hey, whenever you don't have anybody else to come on, man, when all the big shots they don't want to be around, man, you can always call me, man. You guys make me feel like I'm something.
Thank you, Coach.
All right,
And
man,
for all
thank
of our
you.
listeners, we appreciate your feedback. We appreciate all the emails. And go ahead and give us a 5-star rating. That helps with our sponsors. We wish all the teams all the best in the state tournament upcoming. And we look forward to seeing you next month at the BCAM Podcast.
Take care.